What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Honeystead. So in one of my last live chats with you all, I spoke a little bit more about the abundance of food that grows, hopefully, in your backyard like it does in mine. Now, we did our first tea blending workshop, my mom and I, which she is back there. Wave hi! I think she found a patch of something that we're gonna talk to you guys about. But in my last live chat, we shared with you guys a little bit about our tea blending workshop and how we were able to go and forage for a lot of the weeds that are growing in our area that essentially have a lot of nutritional value in it and medicinal properties as well. But I brought up about how cool it would be to start teaching and sharing with you about some of the wild food that essentially might grow in your backyard. So today, why not come for a walk with me, do some harvesting, and I'm gonna teach you about some of the food that we have that's free, growing right outside. And look how sweet and dainty this common greenbrier is. And this is what I'm kind of talking about. This is edible. You want to gather the shoot that is up top. See how shiny it is? So essentially this time of year in the spring, when the mushrooms start to pop up, you'll see a lot of this young new growth on the common greenbrier, and this is what's edible. The nice shiny tender leaves, but it's packed full of vitamins, it's packed full of nutrients, and it tastes a lot like asparagus. Plus it's a good snack. And what's nice, I have so much of it. Pretty good. It's actually really good. What's nice is we have it in abundance and it's here and it's growing. And you don't want to eat the hard stuff down here. You want the nice shiny sprouts that's growing right up on top. Part of our plan for the homestead and what we're doing, especially when it comes to the herbalism aspect, is we are not only considering what's growing in this area, but we're also considering the fact that we need to have that regenerative aspect. It's great if you grow your own herbs and you harvest them and then turn them into tinctures or teas, but part of our plan and what we want is to continue to see things grow and to call in the plants and help transplant and grow the things that we might one day need, or they might one day need to be planted to allow to continue to grow. Let's face it, land is becoming a challenging commodity these days. And so we definitely feel like preserving what we have is extremely valuable. Did you just roll in the greenbrier patch? Are you a tree? Huh? The other day we were going for a walk, much like today. And what I love about seeing all the seasons and seeing all the growth is that it does help you determine where plants are going to be and learning them with the stage that they're in. We were walking down our trail and all of a sudden I looked over and I saw this plant that I was like, gosh, that looks really familiar. I know what that is, but I had never really seen it growing here, especially in the abundance that I found it as. And let me introduce you to this lovely plant. This right here might not look like much, and that back there, and that back there, and that. But the older that the plant gets, and the more it grows, it actually starts looking more like what you would see in textbooks and picture books. But this right here is called Salomon Seal. When it comes to Salomon Seal, it does have a good amount of medicinal properties as well. It is really good for your respiratory system as well as your skin. I do know that it also helps assist with your musculoskeletal system, as well as it is a demulcent, which is good for soothing the mucous membranes. And I do believe that it also has a mild sedative effect as well. I'm sure that there's a whole list of more medicinal properties, and I do recommend that you do your own research prior to any bit of introducing any of the wild herbs to your life. Now, I'm not going to harvest any of the Salomon Seal. We are good right now. I'm going to let it grow. What is amazing though is that this entire hillside has such an abundance of Salomon Seal. They've been here this entire time, and I've walked completely past these weeds that I thought were just weeds. But what I think is really cool is that they finally caught my attention, and now I'm really seeing what's here.
Got another one for you.
What'd you find?
Black huckleberries.
Huckleberries.
So it produces a little fruit, and it's supposed to be edible too.
Oh, cool. All right, well.
So Huckleberry Hill right here.
We got Huckleberry Hill.
So that's these.
Very cool. Now the other thing that we found on our other foraging walk, which we have a whole hillside of. So this is essentially a wild blueberry.
Actually.
Look at that.
Was that the blueberry?
Yeah, this one was the blueberry.
All right, let me make sure I got it in here.
Look at the flower. It's very pretty.
So this was the
Blue Ridge blueberry.
Blue Ridge blueberry.
And then the huckleberry.
And then the bigger leaf right here. This is the huckleberry.
And they grow together.
And that's what it said.
Very
they grow
cool.
Together.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
So they are edible. You can eat the berries, but you're going to be fighting
the birds. Yeah. This is ground ivy or creeping Charlie, but I've had a few people that will want to know the difference between ground ivy and purple dead nettle, and we've got a nice little patch of kind of a variety. So this one right here is purple dead nettle, and this beside it is ground ivy. Now if I can find some henbit, I'll show you the difference between the three. But we've talked a good bit about purple dead nettle and how you can use it as a tea. It's basically great for an antihistamine, especially this time of year with, you know, all the pollen. But the ground ivy, this is one that I'm learning more and more about, and I think I might go ahead and plan on harvesting a good bit because I think we should tincture some. That's the plan. And then right here in this mix, this is chickweed, and this also grows in abundance, and chickweed is also pretty delicious. It's a great spring green that you can add to your diet. It's really good in a salad, I will say. And then we talked about cleavers. That's all in this mix. While we were letting the bees forage on the ground ivy, I pulled up my Peterson book, and then my mom pulled up some of her notes that she had with ground ivy, and it actually has a good bit of medicinal properties as a tea form and then also as a tincture as well. Essentially the tea form that you read was that it's really good from your chest up.
For lymphatic draining, kind of that ear, nose, throat, because it's drying and it just gets that stuff moving and draining out.
It's also used for any lung affliction and fever. Leafy tea used for lung ailment, asthma, jaundice, kidney ailments, blood purification. I thought this was kind of interesting. The ursolic acid in the leaves were experimentally used as an anti-cancer against lymphatic leukemia and human lung carcinoma. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, we made up a tincture at our herb school with ground ivy in it specifically to help with bladder. So that is one thing that we are going to harvest some of the leaves with the stems and the flower. And we're gonna go back up to the apothecary and tincture it.
This is covered in bees.
I know. We'll leave a good bit for them though. Now we can take some to dry some as well, but I think let's get some in a tincture. And put our little pile together. So we're gonna do let's do a fresh tincture. Now, in one of our last videos, I showed you guys, I introduced you guys to cleavers. This is a very good lymphatic cleansing herb, and it's great for this time of year, getting out of the winter and going into spring and just kind of getting rid of all that funk. Now, I used it as a tea form, but my intention is to actually use cleavers and get it started as a fresh tincture that we can add to our apothecary. And since it is growing in abundance, we will gladly harvest what we can and then set it up in some vodka and get it going as a tincture. I read something pretty interesting about cleavers as well, and when we go back up to the apothecary, I'll pull the book up because this was very, very, very interesting. Let's go tincture this stuff. Get this set up in the tincture as well. If you guys watched the video where we were setting up all of our tinctures in dry form, you're gonna see our ratio is a little different than what we are using for a fresh. Now, a dry form tincture, you're going to have 1 part plant to 5 parts alcohol, and a fresh tincture, you're going to have 1 part plant to 2 part alcohol. And that mainly is because of the moisture content that is in a fresh plant, obviously versus a dried plant. The dried plant already has the moisture pulled out versus the fresh plant that has the moisture in it still. So this is what we're gonna tincture. We have some beautiful violet leaves and flowers, some of the ground ivy, and then some fresh cleavers that we are going to go ahead and put in a jar and tincture it up. I've had a lot of people ask if we wash the plants prior to using them. And typically, yes, we will. We will wash the plants, especially when we're going to get it stored. Now, we did just experience a rain. I'm gonna go through all of these plants to make sure that we have exactly what we are looking for. This is the violet flower and the leaf. We're gonna give them all a good look and then go ahead and get them measured, chop them up with a pair of scissors, fill the jar, and then add our vodka, which we're using 100 proof vodka to get these tinctures set up. Now, I didn't take you guys along with us when we were harvesting the violet. It was one of those, oh,
there it is.
We have to get it.
Let's get it while we can.
But my mom has been wanting to tincture violet for, I mean, pretty much since winter. This ratio is going to be a 2 to 1, 2 part alcohol, which is our menstruum, to 1 part plant matter, which we are doing violet. So we are shooting for, what are we shooting for?
Should have been about like 2.2, 2.1.
Little pretty violets poking up. So I'm using 100 proof vodka, and we are going to try to get to 4 ounces.
That's it, a little over.
Okay. All right, I think that's safe. We just added a little bit more. And then tomorrow, when we come up here to shake it, we might have to add a little bit more. That ground ivy smells really good. Mm-hmm. It's in the mint family.
Can't wait for when we do the yarrow.
I know.
And the goldenrod. And now I was just reading something about the wild strawberry, so now I'm really curious.
Yes. Oh, that reminds me. I was talking, and I can't remember which book it was in, but I thought that this was really interesting. They used, so it goes back to cleavers and how they used it as
bed straw.
As bedding. They used it in bedding as bed straw, and it was believed that that Mary used cleavers as the bed straw when Jesus was laid in the manger. So I thought that was interesting because I've had a few people ask me about, you know, my thoughts and my opinions on herbalism and religion and beliefs and whatnot, and I thought that was kind of interesting, the correlation and the link between the two. So
I think it's here on Earth, and it's
for
us.
a reason.
for us to study and
appreciate
and use if so chose to use.
It's always a good idea to write exactly what you just did. So we have a 2-to-1 ratio Wildcraft with 100 proof vodka, and then I put down fresh, and then the biggest thing is the date, because in about 30 days after this is set in a cool dark space, we will press it out. I think what I've learned is when we are foraging, we need more time.
Yes.
Because it's a lot. There's a lot, and there's a lot of really awesome plants, and we didn't even show you.
No, we are very blessed, and it's so exciting to be able to start this now and see what these plants look like and where they're growing, understand what they're about, and what they're going to look like through the season. I'm excited.
Yep, and then of course taking you guys with us. So this is just 3 plants that we pulled to do a fresh tincture, and what we're going to do is get them stored underneath the cabinet and then shake them every single day for about 30 days and then strain them out. So we'll take you guys with us when we do that. On the next video, I think what we're gonna do is plan on harvesting a good bit of whatever we can, whether it's leftover ground ivy or possibly even some more dead nettle and maybe a few other plants that we have that's growing in abundance, and we're gonna load up the freeze dryer because all of this we could use during the winter months as well. And part of what we're doing is preparing and storing and having it, because when we need it, it's going to be here. And that's another reason why we went ahead and set it up as a tincture. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and learn something old.
Bye.
Bye guys.